We don't do the monthly IT meeting. We'll come together and you'll tell us what you want us to build. No. The 4 people that I put in those jobs, I asked the business leaders, treat them as a member of your staff. Bring them to your staff meeting. You have a weekly meeting, you have a bi-weekly meeting, you bring everybody to one country for a quarterly update. That IT person is your link to the IT team.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Wayne Sadin. Wayne is the Chief Information Officer of PriceSmart, the largest membership retailer in Central America, Colombia, and the Caribbean. The company is based in San Diego, and Wayne has been in his role for about a year and a half, and a bit longer than that as a consultant. He's been a CIO or CTO dating back to 1982, roughly a dozen roles in the interim since then. And when he joined PriceSmart, he found a company that was successful and yet in need of a major tech transformation. I look forward to hearing more about the methods he's used to modernize the technology to serve the company better, among a variety of topics I'm sure we're going to cover here today. Wayne, welcome to Technovation. Great to speak with you today.
Hey, Peter, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you and with your audience.
Well, thank you. Well, for those who may be less familiar with it, take a moment and describe PriceSmart's business, if you would.
So if you live in America, you've shopped at Costco, no doubt. Costco is a membership warehouse, 2 words that are important. One, membership, you pay to shop there. Warehouse, they have everything up in the steel and you walk through an unfinished building. And I will point out that the genesis of this entire industry came from the 1950s when our original founder, Saul Price, there's a picture of him in a book behind me, started a company called FedMart, which was the first warehouse club apparently in America. We did find one in the UK in the 1800s when we did some history work. But the genesis of the modern world of this is Saul Price and his business. And I will point out that Sam Walton gives him credit for teaching him through his work and writings, the founder of Walmart. And in fact, I will also point out that in one of the Price family companies, a company spun out of that called Costco. And at one point, there was a company called Price/Costco. And the chairman of PriceSmart, Robert Price, the son of Saul Price, was the chairman of that company until they split, went their separate ways. And then through several evolutions, the Prices formed PriceSmart in Latin America in the late 1990s with 1 club in Panama. And from that, we're now up to over 55 clubs with a few more opening in the next 12 months.
Great overview, brief but pithy and remarkable, where this company is situated in the history of retail. Really fantastic to get a bit more of that background as well. Talk a bit about your purview, if you would, Wayne, as Chief Information Officer. What's within your span of control?
If it has a wire coming out of it or wireless coming out of it, it's where we're responsible in IT. And, for most companies that have had IT for a long time, and we've had an AS400 since the beginning of the company, you wind up with a lot of shadow IT, or rogue IT, as I like to call it, because it's not as fluffy and nice. So I call it something negative. It's people doing their own IT. And so my purview officially is corporate IT. Unofficially, it's all of the automation initiatives in the company, which is a hunt for the rogue IT systems and then an attempt to put a net around them and bring them back to the family and take care of them in a professional way. Remember, we are a publicly traded company with sales just under $5 billion, which means obviously we're subject to a lot of constraints from the SEC. We operate in 13 countries, and they all have their own laws, and many of them apply to us in various parts of our business. So we have to be a professionally run company, at the same time, be a very member-focused company. Our customers are called members, and we're focused on them. But at the same time, as a public company, we have an obligation to our investors and to the regulators.
Makes a lot of sense. When you joined the company, it was very successful. As you point out, you're already at $5 billion, perhaps a little bit smaller than that, but not by much when you joined, since it was relatively recently. But the company, from a technology perspective, much less sophisticated. And I wonder if you could talk a bit about the company you found and how you prioritize some of your activities in the early stages to set a better foundation for the organization from a tech perspective.
So, Peter, I spent my early career in financial services, Wall Street, commercial banks, consumer banks, S&Ls, mortgage companies, companies that spent a very high amount of money and a lot of focus on their technology. In fact, an investment bank is really a technology company that knows how to count. And that's how I learned technology, where buying another mainframe was go get another mainframe. And then I joined other industries, logistics. I was in the armored car industry for a while, manufacturing, where technology is seen as those people over there that spend a lot of money. Now, retailing is one of the most interesting industries. Take Walmart, take a couple of other companies, Amazon, put them in one pile. Take all the other retailers, grocery chains and so on, and put them in another pile. And the attitude of most retailers seems to be, when the buttons fall off the cash registers, we'll think about buying another one. Now, those of you in retail want to argue with me, go ahead. I've been in this industry 2 years. But that's what it seems to me as I talk to my peers. And PriceSmart was no different. It started with one club, one company in Panama, and a group of AS400 programmers building on the legacy of other earlier companies. And they built what they needed to run an international warehouse club. Now, a warehouse club, by the way, is a very limited number of SKUs. Like Costco, we don't have 25 toaster ovens in our club. We might have a big one and a small one. But it's a really good big one and a small one because we've done the work to pick it for you. And so it's a very focused item-based business. And we built all the systems built around that. On an AS400 using an old green screen ERP that was heavily, heavily customized. And that provided almost everything anybody might want up to about 2015, let's say. And then as the world became more uncertain, as the consumers became more demanding, as the younger generation went online and it wasn't come into the warehouse, go to the pallet and pick through the sweaters looking for the purple extra large. Now it's I want to shop online and give me a purple extra large. The demographics changed, the psychographics changed, the competitors changed, and the world became more uncertain. What do they call it? VUCA, variability, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that affected us like everything else. We expanded to 13 countries. That's Latin America, Colombia and South America, and the islands from Dominican Republic down to Trinidad. 13 different environments. You look at Spanish-speaking countries, you say, well, Spanish. No. I went to school in Boston and then worked in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tell me that's the same culture. It's not. And it's probably as different or more different than looking at Spanish as a language, not Colombia versus a different Latin country as a culture. So we have to adapt to that. And we got more and more complex. The technology never kept up. This is pretty typical in retailing. It still works. Let's throw an Excel spreadsheet. The Excel spreadsheet's been outgrown. Hey, smart sheets. Hey, if you have a credit card, you can buy a SaaS product. So let's buy one over here and another one over there and a third one over here. And this is not untypical. I've been seeing this for over 40 years at lots of companies. At a company that's very successful and has a very focused business model, though, the question is, why should we change? And that's when I got to PriceSmart, and I was hired as a consultant to advise the management on the state of their technology, which, Peter, I'd been doing for about a dozen years before I came to PriceSmart. They were just another client. My 90-day, come in, write a report, tell you what you need, package the report up, and either go or come help. And what I found was a company that people had been here their whole career. Our president's first job 46 years ago was putting shopping carts away in the parking lot when he was in high school. Now he's the president. My boss, David Price, his grandfather started the original company. His father is the CEO and acting CEO and chairman. And David has been in the business since before he was born. Everybody said, we're good at this. We make money. We have great cash flow. Our members love us. Our renewal rate is 90%, give or take. What should change? Well, a lot of our executives said, what got us here won't get us there. And they were crying out, I discovered, for somebody to give them some ideas. Somebody that maybe hadn't been in the retail industry for 40 years. Somebody that hadn't been with this company their whole career. And so I came in and could bring them some ideas. And when I put an idea in somebody's head, they ran with it. It was pretty amazing, Peter. And so that's really what I found, a company that was very successful with a lot of growth plans and a very old technology base that was kind of serving their need based on nearshore labor cost, the labor arbitrage model. But that can't go on forever. So that's really what I found when I got here, Peter.
Given the remarkable opportunity that all of that conveys in terms of areas to improve, how do you choose what comes first and the waves to come beyond that? Because of course you're not going to seek change everywhere all at once. What were some of the either the low fruit to pick or the most meaningful moves to make to set that better foundation?
You know, Peter, I've got a philosophy of IT that says we don't do IT projects because IT thinks they're a good idea. And whether we're in retail or I was in banking or whatever, my thinking is we have people who are responsible for parts of the business, whether they're independent business units or they're verticals. So take retailing. Retailing has three legs to the stool. We buy stuff, just about $5 billion worth of merchandise from all over the world. We ship stuff. Remember, we bring stuff in from Asia and send it to Latin America, some by way of Miami, some direct. And then we sell stuff, whether it's in a club, store, or whether it's online, a digital channel. So we got three legs to the stool plus G&A, legal, finance, HR, construction, IT. So I start by breaking up IT into four groups. Let's focus one on each of those legs to the stool. And the idea is nobody in IT is going to know what the business needs like the business knows. But the people running the business may not understand what could be done with modern technology. So let's marry them up. And we don't do the monthly IT meeting. We'll come together and you'll tell us what you want us to build. No. The four people that I put in those jobs, I asked the business leaders, treat them as a member of your staff. Bring them to your staff meeting. You have a weekly meeting, you have a bi-weekly meeting, you bring everybody to one country for a quarterly update. That IT person is your link to the IT team. And so don't tell them what you want them to put in. Typically, here, I've signed this contract, I picked a product. Tell them your hopes, your fears, your dreams, your opportunities, and your problems. And let's work together to solve them. That's number one. Number two, we changed the budgeting process in this company, which I'll admit, I was surprised how quickly people adapted to my radical change. What they used to do was had an IT budget. So here's your budget to run this leg of the stool, this leg of the stool, this leg of the stool. And then here's the CIO over here with an IT budget to do all your stuff. And somehow magically we prioritize your stuff. Well, you know, you wind up with the steering committee and horse trading, and you vote for my project, I'll vote for yours. How about we do it this way? Each of you running your four businesses come up with a budget that supports what you need. And then we spend the money in your cost center. So you decide what, and I decide how. I don't want the business saying, I want to use this technology stack, but I don't want IT saying, there's the vendor for you. So we changed the budget, and I jokingly called the category business projects where IT helps. Now imagine my surprise when 6 months later we're getting ready to do the next year's budget, and that's what finance titled section. And everybody accepted it. And in fact, one of my greatest successes was we have a quarterly business update. We get 200 people, 150 people in a room around the world, and each business presents. The countries present, the buying organization, logistics, and so on. And as the CIO, CIOs almost always speak last. It's either HR or IT that's going to speak last in one of these things, right? Been that way forever. I spoke last. And I was never as thrilled to speak last as I was at this meeting, because all I had to talk about was cybersecurity, a ServiceNow project to change the ITSM environment, and we had an upgrade, a cybersecurity project, and ServiceNow. Every other project we were doing was covered by a business executive. And they said, this is what my business is doing, and this is the technology I'm implementing to make that business work. And in fact, We had one project going on in buying, change the way we forecast and replenish, where the business executive couldn't make the meeting. He was back in Miami running a UAT for the system. So the business executive was running the UAT. My IT person who supports him came to the meeting and presented in lieu of the business person. So again, think about that synergy. The business person and the IT person just changed jobs because it was the right thing to do. Didn't force them. They just worked together and they worked as a team. And so we've got a company that is 30 some odd years old with people who've been here through other earlier companies where technology was never a priority. And then just opening people's eyes to what's possible, to what's out there, to what other retailers are doing, to what other companies in logistics, let's say, are doing. The company adopted and accepted this future look at going from silos running in Excel to an integrated retailing model with real-time data as a future state. And you said you can't do things everywhere at once. Want to bet? Because we've broken the company up into 4 verticals, I am running projects in each of the 4 verticals right now. Now, in 2020, we're fiscal year, by the way, is September to August. So fiscal 24 and 25, each silo is building their own stuff. At the end of 25 and into 26 and 27, they're going to start to come together and start building interfaces from logistics into forecasting, from forecasting into selling. And so it'll get a lot more complicated. But the initial foray into modernization could be done in 4 relatively independent chunks. One of the beauties is when everybody's got really old systems, it's really easy to improve them. And that's where we are. And I think it's a journey that a lot of retailers are on because they're competing at some point with Amazon. Everybody competes with Amazon, and a lot of us compete with Walmart. And when you look at their technology spending, it's pretty spectacular. They have the scale to do it. And so that's the experience most people expect because that's everybody who doesn't have an Amazon account or maybe a Temu account or one of the Chinese shopping accounts. And so we've got to compete. Now, the challenge is how do we keep our traditional shopper that wants to come into the club do what's called the treasure hunt? You ever walk around a Costco and wonder where the stuff is? It's on purpose. I've given away an industry secret. It's on purpose. We're the same way. There's a treasure hunt, and then there's the opportunity to stock up on the staples and then find the cool things, the imported goods, the package of a size you wouldn't get anywhere else, all at a very good price and with very good quality. And so we've got to keep the traditional shopper while still move into the next generation, the next demographic, and support everybody where they are. They want to shop online. They want to shop in the club. They want a hybrid, what's called BOPUS, buy online, pick up in store. And that's our challenge is how do we not lose our soul? How do we not lose our connection with our members? Members, not customers, and yet still provide the technological efficiency and cost benefit that allows us to scale efficiently and economically.
Talk a bit about you talked about the treasure hunt that is in some ways a fun aspect for shoppers in coming into one of your stores. You also have significant e-commerce, as you just pointed out. How do you think about replicating and facilitating replicating what works well in the store setting into the virtual world?
Well, our initial foray into e-commerce really was driven by the pandemic. So it was how quick can we get something up online? And that predates me. I want to give kudos to the team that delivered a website and nothing flat. But now we've stabilized the in-house code, put in some industrial strength underpinnings, and we're building a scalable model that will grow 20 to 30% a year and more, if that's what the market is demanding. And so our challenge is to take the warehouse experience. Remember the warehouse experience. You're a Costco shopper. There's a pallet in the middle of the floor with a box of something, and you pick through it. We can't do the same thing. You can't pick through the stuff on the website, so we have to give you more focus. We have to give you the ability to, again, pick a size, pick a color, which we're trying to put in, and then look for substitutes that were out of this, so you have that, and then build the shopping cart so that we can pick it and put it in your car or pick it and have it delivered to your home, either with one of our delivery vehicles or through a third party. In Latin America, there's a lot of third parties. And also we support both individual shoppers, the shopper like you and me, but we also support a B2B. We are a very large importer of warehouse packs, multi-packs, large boxes. So if you're a restaurant, we will sell you a large container of olive oil or shortening or whatever you might need. If you're a small retailer 50 miles from our clubs, you might come in, fill up your truck with warehouse packs, break the warehouse packs, everything's individual sale then, bring it to your smaller store and sell it there. Or we might run a truck out to you and supply you as a B2B customer. So for us, B2B is everything literally from somebody that buys 10 sheet cakes and sells them in their neighborhood at Mother's Day to importers buying containers full of our private label merchandise and bringing them into countries where we don't have a footprint. Because just like Kirkland, you're a Costco shopper, you buy Kirkland. We have a private label brand called Members Selection. Same idea as Kirkland. If you see our brand name on it, you know it's going to be good quality and good value. And so people want that product in countries where we don't operate yet. So for us, it's everything from the mom and pop, literally business, up to large companies doing importing. And we've got to support all of those flavors. And it slops over. If I'm a small business, maybe I'm buying for my family and for my business. How do I support you in both ways? How do I offer the right opportunities for earning points and credits and gift cards and that sort of thing? And we're building out all of that technology to support multiple payment types, to support a closed-loop wallet, to support reward points and promotions, and put it all on a card like everybody does. Now, Peter, it's challenging for us because we operate in 13 countries, which means as many as 13 banking systems. Now, there are a couple of multinationals we use, but the laws are different. Taxation is different. Some countries require electronic invoicing, where we send the government a copy of your register receipt. Others have fat, sugar, and salt taxes. There are taxes on all sorts of categories of products. So our supply chain is actually quite complex. And the challenge for us and the moat around our business is we are good at bringing merchandise from anywhere we can get it into anywhere we need it. Our head of logistics says something that I think is very profound. The right to import is not a right. It's a privilege. If you run afoul of the regulations of a country, they could suspend your right to bring in material. You can't bring in stuff from the U.S. or from another country or from anybody. And that puts a retailer like us out of business. So we have to be very mindful of the changing laws and changing regulations everywhere we operate. And so whether it's online e-commerce and we're fulfilling it digitally, or it's physical in store, or we're delivering it to your house, we've got to be mindful of everything in our environment, changing consumer tastes, competitors, the regulators, the countries we're in, the customs, and all of those things factor into our business, which makes it just a tad more complicated than running a chain of grocery stores in one country.
And how does that get reflected in terms of any nuances that there may be from a tech perspective, given the profound differences? You talked a few moments ago about the fact that even though there's a common language that is a bond between the markets in which you serve, it's not really necessarily even the same language. There are a lot of nuances there. You extend that dramatically when you talk about the cultural differences across these different countries and what people are shopping for, how they wish to shop, when they shop, perhaps among a variety of other factors associated with it. I wonder, from a technology perspective, is there much that needs to be tailored market to market as a result of some of those nuances, or is that degree enough removed that it tends to be a bit more standardized across country to country?
Oh, no, there's a lot of technology component. The first part of the component is we have to offer every country flexibility. So if I'm a country that wants to sell using this approach, they might want to build their website a certain way. So we have 13 versions of the website for 13 countries. Now, a lot of it is common underpinnings, but the products we sell might be different, not only country to country, but area to area within the country. Again, look at the U.S. If I'm selling in New Orleans, it's different than selling in Seattle. Products are different. Seasons are different. Weather is different. You come to a country that is never cold. Are we going to sell winter coats there? If you're in the mountains of Colombia, yes, you're going to sell winter coats because it gets cold there. And so our product mix is very specific to the club, not just the country. And the way we do it is we have people in the countries. If you think about it, we're 12,000 plus employees, and only a few hundred of us work in the US. Most of the employees of our company work in the countries in which we sell, because a lot of our products, people know us for our TVs from Samsung and Sony, or our washing machines, the stuff that a Costco consumer would buy in the US. But a great amount of our product is locally produced. The meat, the bakery items, the bread, the eggs, everything. There's a lot of local stuff and an increasing amount of that. In fact, one of the things that I'm happy about PriceSmart is we support the in-country local vendors, the people that are growing things, the people that are making things. We have programs to reach out to them and help them sell to a company as big as us. We're not, as companies grow, they have a lot more processes, a lot more controls, a lot more rules and standards. How does a small company do business with us when we're used to doing things, say, electronically through EDI, and they're used to showing up with a paper receipt? How do we help them on board to some of our systems? So we really spend a lot of time and energy in country supporting local farmers, local craftspeople, local producers, because we think that that's a very, very important part of the ecosystem. And I got a comment on this about PriceSmart. I'm new, 2 years in the company, less. People that have been here their whole career will tell you that we give back. We give back to the employees. We really care. What I hear all the time is we don't make our money on the backs of our employees. And that's very, very true. I'll say that as somebody that's worked in companies that do make their money on the backs of their employees. And we believe in the community. A quick story, when I first met the chairman, interim CEO, Robert, I asked him what his plans were for the company. Remember, Robert's 82 years old. He said, my long-term plan, we have 11,000 some odd people. My long-term plan is to hire 5,000 more people in country and raise 5,000 more families into the middle class. And that's not something you normally hear as a consultant trying to solve problems for a company using IT as the thing top of mind in the CEO's world. And that's what I heard from Robert Price. And that's the first time I went, this is a really cool place. And Peter, I see it reflected in everything we do, and how we compensate people, and how we promote people, and how we interact with our communities, our shoppers called members, our suppliers, the vendors that deal with us, and everybody around us. So a lot of what we do is integrate ourselves into the community. Whether it's a charity, we've given school books to people and paid for a lot of the education. And then somebody learned that a lot of the students weren't doing well because they couldn't see the board. So we then created a foundation that's donated thousands of pairs of eyeglasses. And so now not only do you have the books and the other study aids, you have the glasses. And that's something between the Price family foundations and various charities set up by PriceSmart, the company, do not only in San Diego and other places in the US, but all through our markets. Whether it's recycling, whether it's solar panels on the roof, whether it's an effort to not throw away as much stuff. A number of initiatives we're doing are to reduce our carbon footprint. Some pretty dramatic things. We are working to make the communities better, and in fact, the planet better, at the same time being efficient and supplying goods to our members. And that's important, especially as we get younger shoppers. They really care about the planet more than some of us old people. I care too, but I wasn't raised to care. My daughter and kids below that age were raised to care in a way that we didn't get educated. And we at PriceSmart are sensitive to that, and it's part of our DNA.
I know you personally spend a lot of time in the markets that you serve as well. And when you and I recently caught up, you spoke with excitement about a trip that was coming up. I can tell that you really enjoy those trips as well. Talk a bit about what you look for when you go on. And I can imagine, of course, it's a little bit different each time, whether it's the first time you're visiting one of the markets or one where you've already been there before. No doubt different conclusions or different investigation that you're doing. But talk a bit about where you spend your time and what you're looking to uncover on those trips.
Well, I think as a senior executive, as a EVP, as a member of the executive leadership team, my job should not be to have a day job. I think that should be the case of anybody at my level. My job is to have time to understand what I can help with somewhere in the company. And so when I travel in market, whether I'm dealing with my own team, and I've got teams in a number of countries, or I'm at a club or at a warehouse called a distribution center, what I first want to know is what's broken? How can we help? That's the question that always has to come up. What helps you serve your members better? And every club manager has a different focus because the clubs are different. Some are bigger, some are smaller, older and newer, serve different markets. We operate in some very urban locations. We operate in some more suburban locations. So in one of the cases, it's parking that's a big deal. So parking lot, parking spaces. Ever shop at a Costco on a weekend right before a holiday? So I'm putting it in U.S. terms. We're in the same boat. Parking spaces should be made of gold. And so what can we do about parking spaces? Well, IT can't make parking spaces, but you know what? Our new point of sale system is much faster than our old one. So imagine that you could save 40 seconds for every transaction. And imagine you do millions and millions of transactions, and they're 40 seconds faster. That means I can turn parking lots spaces quicker. And that means maybe less congestion in the parking lot, a better experience for the member. Maybe some people that drive in and go, nah, not today, and drive away, shop with us. Our employees then may not have to work quite as late in overtime because people get their shopping done in a more timely way. All sorts of spillover effects. And so how can technology help? We can help manage inventory better. Well, we don't want to run out of anything. How do we forecast better? We don't want to have too much of anything. How do we forecast better? We want the stuff where we want it. Remember our supply chain, Asia to Miami, Miami to the country, country to the store. We call it a club. How do we shorten that? What if we could build containers of material, some TVs, some stereo systems, some electric guitars, some other things, build a container in Asia and ship it directly to the country and bypass Miami? That takes an 80 some odd day journey and turns it into a 40 some odd day journey. And that's real money. It's also the ability to deliver on customer needs quicker. And so the other thing it saves is a lot of diesel fuel. Bunker, the fuel they put in the ocean going ships, is about the dirtiest fuel in the world. Imagine we have fewer ships sailing because we have fewer containers making 2 stops. So that's a way we can really use IT to improve the environment. And again, improve the member experience, improve the shareholder experience, and the environment. It's a win-win-win. And so we keep focused on that, Peter. How can we build an environment that lets us respond faster, respond more cost effectively, and also, as a side effect, move less, touch less, store less, throw away less. All of these things have knock-on effects that make better shopping, better employee experience. And I don't mind helping the investors either, but I'll tell you, PriceSmart, its members and employees are tied and investors are third. And I say that with a lot of insider owners to the company. That's how they feel about it. So the technology for us is really the means to an end. It's never about flashy stuff. We are not into the coolest self-checkouts. Some of the companies are showing cameras that will detect what kind of apple it is, so you just quickly wave it through. We prepackage our fruit. You're not going to buy a loose apple in our club, so we don't need any of that stuff. Do we have self-checkout? Not a bit. We want that look into their eyes, help them out, help them put their stuff in the cardboard box or the bag or whatever. It's part of the way we operate. Might we play with it at some point? Yeah, but it's not a priority. It's about that experience. It's about coming into our club means you're, I don't want to say family, but pretty darn close. You're a member. Pay for the privilege of shopping. So the trick question that Costco asks people and we ask, what's our biggest selling product? What do we make the most money on? And the answer is membership. Go look at our annual report. You look at Costco's. Costco's 60% of their net profit is membership. We're pretty much the same. So what do we want to do? We want you to have such a good experience that you're willing to pay us for the privilege of shopping in our club. which means good products, the right product, the right price, the right place, the right condition, and everything's got to be right, or you don't want to shop with us. And so that's everything we do on technology, Peter, is based on making our employees better able to serve the member and give the member a better experience. And secondarily, our trading partners, the vendors we deal with, the people who supply us, we want them to have a good experience too, because we all want partners.
Wayne, you speak with pride at being a turnaround chief information officer. I mentioned before you've been a CIO, CTO for more than 40 years now at a dozen or more companies, many of them of consequential size, like the one you currently serve as well. When did you decide, or how did you determine that your strength lay in diagnosing issues and helping organizations overcome those issues?
I think it's some bad career choices I made early in my career when I joined companies that were more troubled than I realized. And as a geek, I came up on the tech side of IT. I couldn't tell that the company was really in trouble. And so we had to do something. What is the saying? Nothing so focuses the mind as the assurance you'll be hanged in the morning. I think that's where we are in a lot of the companies I joined. And so I discovered that if you fix the IT and the operational processes, drop money to the bottom line. And we may make a company that we could sell for more if we were selling it, or a company with a platform that could buy things. And so I was in the S&L business for a while. You may remember It's a Wonderful Life with the building and loan. You might remember they all went away when tax laws changed. So I had a tumultuous time in that business. I was in the subprime mortgage business. That also had its tumult and ups and downs. And so joining companies like that, I wanted to go where the action was. I get bored easily, and I want to work with a company that's either growing fast because they're doing acquisitions, or they're changing fast because technology is important to what they do. And so I've always looked for opportunities not to be a cog in a big, boring IT shop that just grinds out work, but a shop where IT was really influencing the bottom line, influencing the product, influencing the relationship with the customer. So I worked for an armored car company. We put in smart safes that changed the relationship with quick serve retailers and restaurants and even funeral homes. I worked for an S&L, and we put everything online, a company called Bank United, where we decided to become an internet bank in the late 1990s because internet banks were going to put us all out of business, you may remember. And I've always gravitated towards the opportunity. The way I became a consultant doing this was I did 3 turnarounds in about 4 years. We sold all 3 companies, and we sold it for money, a profit, and they paid me handsomely to lose my job. And then a recruiter said to me, "You're unemployable. You can't hold a job." And I said, "What do you mean? We exited 3 companies in 4 years. This is wonderful." "No, they won't understand. You can't hold a job." So I became a consultant and became an investor. And so for the 12 or so years before PriceSmart, it was initially something that I had to do because I was in theory unemployable because I fixed companies, but it turned out to be a lot of fun. And quite frankly, Peter, after 12 years of doing it, I never thought I would get a real job again. I never thought I would have to ask for vacation and fill out the forms to get my expenses reimbursed and so on. But then the opportunity comes along and you say, this is too good to pass up. It's a company that is successful, growing, caring, and understands the need for technology to shape their business process. It's people I initially worried, everybody's been here their whole career. Are they going to recognize the need for change and be willing to make the effort to change? Because they don't have to. You can coast along for another few years because it's a great model. But the PriceSmart family has been people who work together to solve problems for so long that once we gave them some new concepts to chew on, everybody absorbed it and came back and said, "What about that too? What about that too?" And here we are embarking on a large growth initiative, which we're just spinning up a multi-year growth initiative. And the cooperation from all over the company is remarkable. I've been doing this for 40 some odd years, and I've never seen a company pivot like this company is pivoting, from a company that never changed to one that says technology is important to what we do. And it's not important to be done over there by those people. It's important to be done by us as a team. And it's just a wonderful place to be, a wonderful place to build. And quite frankly, I look for building on my age, Peter. I'm looking not only to build my replacement, but maybe their replacement and even the replacement after that. So I'm trying to prepare a couple or three generations to follow on. Remember, the legacy of this company goes back to 1958. So there's nothing to say it's not going to be there for another 50 or 100 years. So let's build an IT platform that is cost effective today, responsive today, but still gives them the springboard for the company of tomorrow.
Fantastic. And wonderful to see the energy you have for this, given the vast experience you bring to it, but also the opportunity it presents for you as well. As you look to the future, Wayne, are there particular trends that excite you? Some areas you've been investigating that have made their way onto your roadmap? I'd love to hear more.
Well, in retailing, too many times retailers operate in silos. We're starting to slowly move away from the silos. I can buy it here and earn it there. And again, I want to put Walmart and Amazon in the US in a separate category. They do this well. And how does somebody without those pockets do it? And that's the challenge for us. I like to say we're not going to Mars and I'm not solving nuclear fuel. We sell stuff. We buy stuff, we ship stuff, we sell stuff. The good news is at our scale, 5 to 10 billion range, let's say, a lot of people have solved the problems we're solving. You can go buy a package to do forecasting from a company called Relics. We can buy a point of sale system. We can buy a new logistics system. We can do all these things. Our secret sauce is how we put them together to serve the needs of members versus customers, and the needs of a particular treasure hunt model versus the we carry everything for everybody every day. And so the trend for me initially is, how do I get from kind of 1980s, 1990s systems into a smoothly operating integrated model? You know, you can go out and buy an ERP. Let's go buy blah, blah, blah. You know who they are. Everybody knows. Let's go buy one of them, spend 9 figures on it, make a 5-year project out of it. I came to a company that had a lot of needs. Stuff was not holding together well. Stuff was not scaling well. So the challenge is to start building out pieces and then connecting them. It's sometimes called a best of breed strategy. I call it a how do I get to the end game quicker strategy versus wait 10 years and I'll build you the whole thing. So our challenge has been to build each silo up and then start connecting them as we go to the model of integrated retail. So our themes for the upcoming year or two is master data. And retailers have this problem. Who are our customers? Who are our vendors? Who are our employees? And what do we sell them? So that's a PIM and a PLM. That's an HCM system. That's an experience management system, and so on. So master data is very critical, and the governance thereof is very critical, especially when you're selling multi-channels in 13 countries. Another thing is moving from batch to real time. Again, I told you we're some old architecture. In the old retailing model, we updated everything every day. Why? Because that's how the accountants close the books. How much did you make in that club that day? But you know what? When I sell the last big screen TV in one of my clubs, goes through the register, scan, I want to know that there's a truck coming in an hour from the warehouse, the DC. Hey, let's put another pallet of big screen TVs on that truck. And then we can deliver it. And I don't have to go into the steel and take it down, because I can deliver it quickly from a local DC. How do I build that integrated model? Let's get even cleverer. We make roast chickens. We do bakery items. We grind beef. Well, let's say that we're seeing the roast chickens are going, they're flying, no pun intended, they're flying out the door. So I thought I would sell 25 an hour and I'm selling 45 an hour. Let's put some more chickens on the rotisserie. How do I know it? Because my point of sale system is telling me that. So how do we build the efficiency? You know, we buy half a cow and we cut it up into meatballs for the pizza, into ground beef, into steaks, into things that go into recipes. How do we optimize what's known as a reverse BOM, reverse bill of materials, and disassemble a carcass? At the same time, how do we bake millions of cookies a year, millions of cakes? So we're an industrial scale manufacturer. We're an industrial scale, I'll call it unmanufacturer, taking a cow apart. And if you think about the complexity in the four walls, we do everything from cut up cows to examine your eyes within those four walls. And we are very vertically integrated. A lot of stuff we do ourselves. And so that's the trend I'm seeing, is how do we offer that experience? Everything comes around to, why would you walk in the door of our club? Why would you walk in the door of our club 5 years from now when you could buy everything online? Because we can offer you a fun experience that combines shopping with delight, stuff that you can't really do on the internet. But, maybe one day we'll put the VR goggles on and we'll walk you through we'll open the doors in the refrigerator. I don't know, but we have to be available. So my idea about IT, and it's been a constant since literally the 1980s, is IT's job is to offer the business optionality. It's a word I learned on Wall Street. The ability to make choices. I want to operate and buy a quick serve restaurant. Maybe I want to buy an industrial bakery. How do I give the CEO, the CFO, the ability to do that? How do I unlock the rigid systems that say, this is what is going to happen next year, and replace that with a sense and respond infrastructure? If this happens, I will do that. And that's where I think the trends are. We've got to go to real-time data governance, integrated systems, sense and respond. And you know what I've just described? The perfect setting for artificial intelligence. Now, if I have the data and I have it curated, and I know what's happening in the world at large, in addition to what's happening in my four walls, and I can throw an intelligent agent on top of that, and we're growing into that. We're doing a lot of RPA now, robotic process automation. I got a green screen in the middle and all these new systems around. And I describe agentic AI as if RPA only had a brain. Sorry, I saw The Wicked recently. But that's the way you want to see it, is if I can now add intelligence and discrimination, the ability to make judgments and decisions to the basic RPA and the basic workflow, I can start really building some very cool stuff that I don't have to envision. You move to an agile mindset. What are you doing? You're doing sprints, iterating towards the MVP and beyond. If I have the right tools, I can put the pieces together. The Legos get together this way or this way or this way, depending on what the business wants. And so to sum it all up, if I've got folks embedded in the business, hearing their pain points and their opportunities, and I've got a group building blocks that I can assemble in different ways, and I build them to connect, that's the trend. The trend is sense and respond in real time with some intelligence, whether it's people at the high level, whether it's computers taking over. It's being able to offer a very high quality experience to our members without killing our employees, without overburdening the employees. And that's the future of retailing, is the experience plus the cost effectiveness, so we can offer low prices, and the ability to pick the right products to delight people now and in the future.
Wayne, anything you've recently read, watched, and or listened to that you would highlight for others? I know you're somebody who has a broad intellectual diet, and curious about some of the things that at least have been catching your eye.
I used to read mostly books, and over the years I've switched to very small bites of things through X, Twitter, and through Reddit and all these other things. So the answer is, what I'm focused on now is beyond learning retailing, because I am a novice at this, is everything I'm consuming is about how to hook stuff together better. The other thing you got to look at, I finally come to realize that generationally we're maybe a little bit different. I've had my first interaction with early 20s employees. I'm in my 70s, so it's a big gap. And I'm learning that their expectations about life and work life are quite different. And so how do we, in the boomer generation and the generation behind me, adapt to these people that are soon going to be the majority of our customers, majority of our suppliers, and the majority of our employees? So I'm trying to keep up. I'll never learn the slang, Peter, but I'm trying to keep up with the thinking that goes into people coming out of college these days. And how do we build a multi-generational? Again, I've got an interesting problem. I have 70-year-old AS400 people in California working with 20-year-old people in Costa Rica, Guatemala, and other countries, and building systems that have to connect. I'm supplying systems to people in 13 countries and 2 basic languages with folks that have been with the company 40 years and people that just came on like me and some of the people I've hired. I've got people who are 20 and people who are 70, RPG programmers and people writing on the web. How do you get all these folks to work together? And so that's the most fascinating problem there is. It's much more interesting than any IT problem. It's the problem of getting everybody to work together harmoniously and understand how to meet as many of those needs at the same time as we can. So I won't pick, there's no particular book that I read the other day. I go back to, I'm an old guy, so I go back to, and I'll tell you the book that I've recommended more times than any other book. Fred Brooks, the architect of the System 360 software stack, wrote a book in the 1960s called The Mythical Man Month. And it's a 2-hour read, and it's still relevant today. It talks about, it's called Essays in Software Engineering is the subtitle. It's the biggest IT project ever done in history, current dollars. And the stuff he talks about, again, if plan to throw the first one away, adding people to a late project makes it later. If one woman can have a baby in 9 months, 9 women can have it in 1 month. All of those things came out of Fred Brooks' book. So there's a tip. It's so old, most of your readers probably never heard of it, but I hope more people buy it because it's still on Amazon.
Thank you for that suggestion. A really great one, Wayne. And thank you more generally speaking for a phenomenal conversation, emblematic of this broad set of perspectives you have from a rich career that's many decades and continuing. And I'm especially pleased to see that you have found a role that continues to have you as energized as ever here at this stage of your career as well. Thank you for a great conversation.
It was my pleasure. I'm happy to share the PriceSmart's story. I'm happy to share some thinking about IT. And really, if I can influence anybody's career and influence anybody's thinking, I'm happy to do it. At this point in my career, it's about giving back. So I'm happy to give back with your show and, again, meeting you and the people that you brought together. It's been terrific. And thank you for having me, Peter.